Let's start with a bit of a laugh, shall we? Have a look at your latest contract of employment or that dusty job description taped to the site office wall. It probably says something charmingly quaint like plant operator or 360 driver. It implies a rather simple existence. You climb into your cab, you pull some levers, you move some muck from point A to point B, and you go home. Lovely little fantasy, isn't it? It's the kind of thing a tier one contractor's marketing department dreams up when they want to put a hero of the industry photo on LinkedIn. The reality, as any of you currently sat in a vibrating seat for 10 hours a day knows, is that the term operator is at best a gross understatement and at worst a monumental lie. It's a linguistic con job designed to keep your hourly rate neatly tucked under the skilled manual bracket while you're actually performing the roles of a flight engineer, a diplomat, a nursemaid, and a data scientist. In the eyes of the office, your machine is a magical beast that survives on hope. It stays upright by sheer force of will, and it could be driven by a monkey. But we know the truth. Before your first cup of tea has even hit your system, you're the lead technician. You're expected to carry out daily checks, grease all the lube points, check the fluids, and diagnose that funny little clicking sound that is actually the hydraulic pump contemplating suicide. When the machine throws a fault code that looks like ancient Greek, does the firm send out a specialist with a laptop? Eventually, maybe, but first, you're expected to be the on-site diagnostic lead. You're the one under the hood with a spanner, a rag, and a prayer, trying to keep the job moving. And do you get the mechanic's call-out fee? Don't be silly. You get your standard rate and it's part of your job, isn't it, from a bloke in a clean fleece who doesn't know a spanner from a spatula. Then there's the babysitting. Let's call it what it is. You're the guardian of the ground workers. You're operating a 20-ton potential killer in a space the size of a postage stamp, surrounded by people who seem to have a hard-on for your blind spots. You're not just digging a trench, you're orchestrating a complex, high-stakes ballet. You're the one who has to have eyes in the back of your head to ensure that young Kev, the apprentice, who's currently staring at his phone, doesn't wander under the counterweight. Again. You're the primary safety officer, the final line of defence against a riddle report. If something goes wrong, it's your neck on the line. But when the safety bonuses are handed out for a zero harm month, do they acknowledge that it was your constant vigilance that kept everyone's limbs attached? No. They might buy you a tray of supermarket donuts from the canteen and call it even. Let's talk about tech. Remember when a digger just had a bucket? Yeah, those days are gone. Now you're expected to be a systems administrator. You've got GPS screens flickering in the cab, 3D machine control systems telling you exactly where the tooth of the bucket is to the millimetre, and site plans that update in real time via the cloud when you're not even looking. You're literally a data processor. You're reacting to live engineering changes beamed from a head office 3 counties away, managed by a graduate who's never set foot on a site in his life. You've had to teach yourself how to calibrate these systems, how to troubleshoot the signal, and how to interpret digital models. It's high-level technical work. In any other industry, having GPS systems management on your CV would get you a desk and a salary with multiple zeros. In demolition and construction, it just means you don't have to get out the cab to check the levels quite so often. And this is perhaps the most cynical part of the industry's exploitation. We finally realised that as an industry, mental health matters, which is great. But instead of hiring actual professionals or reducing the crushing pressure of site deadlines, the industry has looked at the machine operator and thought, captive audience. You're the conduit. You're the one who workers talk to because you're the steady hand on site. You're the first aider when someone slices a finger, and increasingly, you're the mental health first aider when someone's life is falling apart. You're the shoulder to cry on, the listener, the one who notices when a colleague isn't himself. It's vital, potentially life-saving work, and it's being offloaded onto you just because you're there anyway. It's an immense emotional burden to carry. Added to the stress of production targets, yet it's treated as just another soft skill you should provide free out of the goodness of your heart. You're the bridge between the client's impossible demands and the reality of life on site. When the contractor promises the earth, literally, you're the one who has to explain why it isn't happening. You're the eyes and ears for a head office that couldn't find the site without Google Maps. You provide the intelligence, the progress reports, and the site vibe checks that keep the project managers from looking like idiots in front of the client. You are effectively an assistant site manager who just happens to be sat in a machine. You manage the workflow, choreograph your fellow operators, you mentor the apprentices, and you ensure the quality of the finish. You're the most important person on that site. So why do you do it? Why do you accept being the mechanic, the safety lead, the IT consultant, the therapist, and the diplomat just for the price of being an operator? It's because the industry knows you're proud. They know that when you finish a grade, it's perfect. They know you care about the machine more than the hire company does. They rely on your professionalism to fill the gaps in their own management. They've commoditized your can-do attitude and turned it into their profit margin. The next time you're sat in that cab, look around at all the roles you're playing. You're a one-person department of works. And the best part? When the job is finished ahead of schedule and under budget, the suits will pat each other on the back in a boardroom and talk about their strategic oversight. You aren't just a digger driver. You're the most undervalued multi-instrumentalist in the business. But never mind that. You need to get back to work. That GPS isn't going to calibrate itself. And young Kev looks like he's about to fall into a trench again.